Hello, everyone. I would like to open the October 13th meeting for the Community Development Advisory Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Christina, will you do the roll call for me?
Yes, ma'am. Hang on. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm having an issue with the slide. Okay, there's the quick agenda.
Okay.
This looks a lot easier than what it is sometimes. Okay, let's do quick roll call. Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
I am here.
Ronald Crockett. I see you, Ron. Are you here?
Here. I just
Thank you. Spence Flag. Absent. Raymond Hill.
Here.
Thank you. Ella Kane. I'm going to count her absent, but she might join us later. Vernon Perry Jr.
Here.
Thank you. Shauna Nefos Webb.
Here.
Thank you. Steve Willinger.
Here.
And Daniel Witcher.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Christina. Good to see everybody and hear everybody. We're going to talk about the necessity for conducting the meeting in an electronic manner. Christina, do you care to read the governor's order, please?
Sure. And this is a little bit different than in the past, everybody. Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16, which has been extended through October 28, 2020 by Executive Order number 60, suspended the provisions of the Open Meetings Act to the extent necessary to allow governing bodies to conduct their essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of members physically in the same location. One condition of the meeting electronically is that if a member of CDAC or staff is attending by audio only, they are asked to identify themselves by name and position when they speak. So basically, if you guys aren't, if your screen is off and we can't see you, then you need to say your name before you speak. In order to proceed with meeting electronically, the governing body should make a determination that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. At this time, it would be appropriate for the members to discuss whether they believe that meeting electronically is necessary and vote accordingly. If the members do not agree that meeting electronically is appropriate at this time, then this meeting should be adjourned until such time as the members can meet in person. So we'll need discussion, Marjorie, and roll call again whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Does anyone have any discussion about meeting electronically?
No.
Okay. I hope everyone is safe and wearing your mask when you're out. If you would go ahead, Christina, and if we want to vote by roll call that it's okay to hold the meeting electronically.
Chairwoman Tester.
Yes.
Ronald Crockett.
Yes.
Spence Flag. Raymond Hill.
Yes.
Ella Kane. Vernon Perry Jr.
Yes.
Shauna Nefos Webb.
Yes.
Yes.
Steve Willinger.
Yes.
And Daniel Witcher.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Now, if we will move forward with the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the September 28th, 2020 meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm only speaking for me.
Thank you, Steve. Does anybody have any discussion or any questions or any corrections that need to be made to those minutes?
I move they be accepted as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
Yes.
Ronald Crockett.
Yes.
Spence Flag. Raymond Hill.
Yes.
Ella Kane. Vernon Perry Jr.
Yes.
Shauna Nephos-Webb,
Yes.
Steve Willinger,
Yes.
Daniel Witcher.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Mhm. All right. Now we're going to talk about old business, and Christina's going to share some things with us.
Sorry.
Take your time. That's okay.
A lot going on in this little area. Y'all can't see it, but okay. So I have some great news. As of well, in the last week or two, we've had some updates to the 2024 consolidated plan. But as of this morning, our field rep said that he is ready to approve it. The actual Knoxville field office, the head of staff, I guess, is not there this week, so it can't actually get finalized. But on our end, it is approved. So,
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Hey.
Very pleased. Very pleased. That was a group effort with Knoxville and Johnson, or Knoxville, Kingsport and Johnson City. So I really appreciate them and their help.
Good.
Okay. Cdbgcv Funding. This is a really big surprise, you guys, because as you know, we amended our 2019 our 2019 action plan with a substantial amendment after that first round of funding. There was a second round of funding that came through, and the field office had already approved our amendment. Well, the feds decided to give additional funding in a CDBG CV round 3, which nobody was expected to get funding unless you were a larger community. So us smaller entitlement communities were shocked, as well as the HUD field office, when we learned that we had received for Bristol, Tennessee, $181,281, $181,281, which is a lot of money. That's more than we actually received our first round.
What does CV stand for?
Do what, Steve?
What is CV round?
That's the money, the CARES money from the feds. That's our CARES money. Yeah. And it's, yes, CDBG, which
Round
Community Development Block Grant, right. And then the CV means that it's the CARES funding. So what we're going to have to do is go back to our 2019 substantial amendment and amend the amendment for whichever direction, however we want to use these funds. We just learned about it not that long ago, and we were waiting. I think the HUD field office was waiting for more direction too. But my field rep told me today, when he was telling me about the consolidated plan, that we need to just go ahead and prepare to use those funds like we did in round 1. So that gives us a little bit of direction to move forward with talking about how we want to spend that money. We will have to, amending that 2019 amendment basically means we have to do another public comment period of 5 days, but it's not huge. But we'll also have to have another public hearing. We will need to go ahead and get a newspaper ad out probably for our next board meeting, so we do not have to have an additional called meeting for everybody. If you guys are okay with that, that's what I'll plan on doing. But I do need to know a little bit of direction on how we want to go about recommending to council to spend these funds.
Okay.
What did we do the first time?
That when we met with the Zoom meeting and we had the request from the nonprofits, and we determined how much each nonprofit would be awarded based on their requests and based on the money that we had available. And Christina and I have talked about this a little bit, and I'd like to share just a little bit about what our discussion is. We were able to fulfill almost every single one of those nonprofits' requests. So there is another need that is out in the community that we need to consider, and it has to do with helping people who have either been laid off because their businesses had to close, or businesses have had to downsize, or there are some people who have been sick because of the COVID and not being able to work, and their employer does not pay if they do not work. There are a lot of people out there that fall into that category. So there's a program that is at the United Way that earmarks funds for people who have a need and who formally apply for help with their utilities and some of their basic living expenses. It's not rent because of the moratorium that was passed by Congress. So people's rent is not causing a hardship on them right now, but utilities and just basic needs like that, and especially with the winter coming, it's a serious situation for some people. So Bristol, Virginia is doing something similar with their funds that they received. And we felt like that it might be an opportunity to have a partnership with the United Way. And it would be also a partnership that Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia are working together in tandem to use these funds to help people in the community that definitely have a need. So Christina can find out more information for us if we decide that this is an option that we want to look at. We don't have to make that decision today, but we do need to be able to provide her with a little bit of direction as to, is this something that we want to consider to do with these funds?
I have a question.
What else? Okay, I've got the utility, but you said similar. What other kinds of things were in your discussion?
It'd just be utilities, Marjorie. Yeah.
Just utilities. Okay. So just utilities, which could be everything from electric to gas to water.
Right. Any of those things, but utilities. Okay.
Yes.
How does the United Way advertise? How do they make known that this is available to the community?
Well, they already have a program in place, Shauna, and they have for a while, but I think the problem is they just don't have a lot of funding. And, in talks with this, they already have an application process. They already know, 90%
who needs and who doesn't need also.
Right. And they do work with many of the local nonprofits and service providers. And those people, the local nonprofits and service providers, are the ones who recommend folks to call the United Way.
And then there are people like me on the community and people like, Steve Willinger around the community who runs across people and find needs and send them to the United Way. So there's a whole network of people that have been through League Bristol or other things that know that this is what the United Way does.
Two questions. When will these funds be appropriated so we'd know when that would begin? And number two, what generally are the askings of this United Way group? You're saying they generally don't have the funds, but do they know about what figures asked annually or whatever for these needs?
Yeah. Okay. That was Dan Witcher, guys. Because Dan, your camera is white, so I'm just going to announce that was you. I can find out more, to be honest. I just wanted to see, and Marjorie and I were just kind of brainstorming a little bit because we wanted to see if this committee felt like that was even a direction that they'd want to go in. I will tell you, I like giving all the nonprofits the funding that we did the last round, but it was very, very challenging. And, it was a lot more work than I expected it to be. What's not, right? And, honestly, Dan, I think that, I think Bristol, Virginia is getting about 115,000. So it's a little bit less than us. but it would be awesome to say that, hey, the cities are teaming up to help people in Bristol with utilities. The program is already existing. I think that we could ask other people that potentially help with utilities too. Like I know the Salvation Army has a program. They could also ask, you know, the city for X amount of dollars, that I could reach out to those nonprofits like I did last time and see if they would be interested in doing the administration of something like that utility program. Now, I think that it would only be fair to pay them some sort of an administration fee too. I don't know what that is, but I think that it's a lot of work that would be going in this. You know, we could put in there 10%, 15%, 20%. I don't know. But I think it just, if it's something that this committee believes could benefit Bristol, then I will move forward on pursuing it and get you guys that information.
I have a question, please.
Hey, Steve.
The United Way, and they are spot on. They know how to do this from one end to the other. If you were to use the United Way, then why would you reach out? Wouldn't the United Way reach out to those nonprofits that they serve? You shouldn't have to go through that again in every individual thing. They've already got the system in place.
I wouldn't want to reach out to everybody, but maybe a couple of nonprofits that we know do rental assistant, or utility assistance.
Faith in Action.
Or, you know, but that'd be a Virginia side. Bristol Faith in Action is on the Virginia side. They need to request that money for them. But we could actually just say, hey, we're going to give this funding to United Way, and they can give it out to their service providers.
Could we get, you know what would really be cool is to have the United Way come in and tell us what they would do with that money, what they could do. And my only other question is, if some of this funding goes into Virginia, is that an issue?
Yeah.
We cannot pay for folks that live in Virginia to get serviced.
Right. So this money is strictly for the Bristol, Tennessee.
Correct. Yes.
City and county. What is
only city? This is only Bristol, Tennessee city funding.
City. Okay, and there's limits. All right.
I have some comments.
Can I say something? I'm with you, Marjorie and Christina. The churches, as a pastor, the churches are running out of money for this. You know, people come to us looking for it.
Mm-hmm. There's always been the need, and somehow they very carefully have managed the request, but we're in different times right now, and I think this need is so much greater than what the resource is. Did Ron have some comments?
Yes,
There he is.
Okay, Ron.
First of all, to clarify, the United Way does not do this on a regular basis. They started doing this on account of COVID.
Okay.
There's an established program with Bristol, Tennessee Electric System or Essential Services and the Salvation Army and the United Way to select people to pay their utility bills. That's been an ongoing program for many years. There is no program for paying gas bills or water bills. That would be a new program. And that would have to be coordinated with the United Way and the city of Bristol, I assume. But the Salvation Army has always been the clearinghouse for deciding who gets it and who doesn't. They have established procedures for doing that. I would like to add, how long do we have to spend this money?
Yeah,
How long do we have to spend this money?
Yeah, Christine, I can't hear you. You're on mute. There you go.
Hi, guys. We have a couple years.
Okay. I would like to save some of it for rental assistance once the moratorium is over, because many people are going to have to leave where they're living because they can't afford the payment that will be due when that happens. Landlords are not going to allow them to stay there and just forget 8 months worth of rent. It just isn't going to happen.
Ron, I wish that we could do that, but the HUD field office told me that rental assistance was not going to be an option for this funding.
Oh.
Correct. Because I feel like they feel like the moratorium has now basically given people many months. And I know, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's going to be really yucky here first of the year with people.
Yeah,
But he said that rental assistance is not an eligible activity for this.
They may change those guidelines, and if we don't have to spend all the money between now and January, I don't know what's going to happen. All these people are going to be thrown on the street in January. Landlords aren't going to stand for it. I mean, they can't. Economically, they can't. And a lot of people are going to be thrown out, or whenever the moratorium expires, unless the government steps in to make those payments. There are going to be a lot of people on the streets.
Ron has a good point. I can tell you what's happening. People have to fill out a lot of forms and get signatures by the landlord and everything else that they are not paying rent and that it's due to a COVID issue. And there's a lot of government red tape in order to even get be allotted by the moratorium. We heard the last time that the landlords can be sued and put in jail if they take rent money when somebody's on a COVID. However, there's 3 or 4 forms that have to be filled out and signed for someone to qualify. What's actually happening are many people are abandoning what they're renting. Not many, but probably 5 to 10% I'm seeing are abandoning rentals, walking away from them because, number one, they can't declare that COVID has prevented them from making payments, and they have to certify that to the federal government. So that's and Ron's got a good point. At some point in time, the landlord is going to say, I need to collect X amount of dollars, and somebody else is going to say, well, I don't have it. And eventually the government will realize that what Ron is saying is going to be a real issue.
Hey, Dan.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. From the housing, Bristol housing prospect on it, I'm telling you, HUD's not even giving no one that's living in housing a break. They can stay, but after December the 31st, they also have to pay all rent back. They're not even cutting nobody no break.
Oh, yeah.
What are the terms?
Yeah, it's just a break for a period of time, but they have to pay the money back.
Yep.
Every bit of it has to go back.
What amount of time is allowed for them to repay?
Immediately.
It's due immediately.
Yeah.
And that's why many people are not signing up for it, because the renter says, oh, well, I can't afford it now, and I can't afford it 6 times this in 3 months. So they're not signing up for it. It's a catch-22 to everybody. So there's going to be a need come, but right now, that's why I'm saying people are just breaking leases to get away from not being able to pay. They know they're not going to get kicked out, but they know the bill will come due.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I do know that at this time, rental assistance is not eligible. I also know that if we don't put in some direction which form we're going in, then I kind of have to sit in limbo for our CAPER, which is coming up, because I can't close out the 2019 year until I amended 2019 action plan. So
I'm in favor of what we originally talked about then. If we can't do the rent, that's nothing we can do. I'm in favor of pursuing with the United Way at least. And again, I'd like to ask for them to come in and describe what they would do if they had that money.
Can it go for food?
Well, we did the Second Harvest Food Bank in our first round. So I don't see why.
Food is going to be a big deal coming up. It's not yet, but it will be potentially. I think we should include food in that. And there are many ways to distribute the food through the food pantry, the Salvation Army, Faith in Action. But that's a possibility for some of the money. But utility bills is going to be another possibility. Off the top of my head, I can't think of other. I mean, I don't know what are eligible expenses.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that we can do. Throw something at me.
Well, I mean, just for instance, all the different nonprofits that we helped the last time, those were all qualified expenses that also apply to this money. Is that correct, Christina?
Yeah, but see, the difference is those are more service. I mean, like the money that we give to the YWCA is public service money, which is all that we gave out last time was all public service funding. This is a little bit different in that it's public service, but they also have to get us correct documentation. It's more of like a subrecipient than us just giving them funding, if that makes sense. There's going to be a lot of work on their end.
Okay.
Well, Second Harvest, like he was talking about Second Harvest, Salvation Army, and everyone else, they get the food from Second Harvest. And I think the utility and United Way, aren't they connected somehow with Second Harvest of helping them?
No.
I don't know.
They're not. Second Harvest is not directly funded. It's more independent and it has lots of sources. But it serves the whole Upper East Tennessee area, not just Bristol.
Correct. Now, our money is earmarked specifically for Bristol. Anything that we give to Northeast Tennessee, the food bank, they have to use it in the city limits. That's in our contract.
Question for you, Ron. Does the Salvation Army work with the United Way for funding for food?
Not directly. Not this year. They're not getting any money from the United Way for food.
They did work with Arch, right, Ron?
But they
worked with Arch, Appalachian Regional Coalition of Homeless. They got money from that.
Well, the Salvation Army got its money through other avenues. It came through its national organization. And they got a lot of money this year. But they have difficulty because you can't accept money from two different sources. You can only accept it from one source. Otherwise, you're considered with the government to be double dipping.
Wow.
So administratively, we have to be careful about how this is handled. And I don't know if the Salvation Army, what limitations there might be for them to accept food that's funded by this CARES money.
But they do receive United Way funds, though, Ron. And
not for food. They receive it to run their shelter and to run their social services.
Right.
Can we make a motion maybe this way, that we work with the United Way to work with BTES, to work with the city of Bristol for the water issue utility, and also Atlas Energy for energy, and United and the Salvation Army. So basically the United Way would be a banker, so to speak, to distribute the funds to these other groups that would go to utilities and possibly to not necessarily to food for the Salvation Army, but for other things that would go out to those that need it. Does that make sense?
As long as it's legal with the federal government, yes, I agree in principle, that's what we should do.
So we have a motion on the floor that we want to get more information from the United Way about funneling all these funds through them. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'll second that.
Yes, and that's the point. And then they tell us if they can do it or not, or how it has to be done.
Okay.
I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if we can funnel through for additional programs. I'll have to check on that, guys. That's not at all what I was,
Is the United Way though, or do you think we can work with the United Way on this?
I think we can work with United Way on their program for utility assistance, which would be what we give money to. And then they would have to work it out with the other people. But like, as far as we're going to be concerned, it's going to be United Way and the city of Bristol, Tennessee are helping.
Yeah, look, the
funding.
United Way, they can do all it, well, if they want to. That's why I say to have them come in. I think they could lay out the plan for us and even describe how much money they really would expect to use immediately. I think they have a pretty good hand on that.
They really don't, because nobody knows. Okay, they're just about out of money, but it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. But I think from demand and requests, they could probably forecast how far this money would go.
And from what I'm hearing, they're probably the easiest one to distribute it because they do have a program.
They've got the network in place. They're ready.
Yeah.
However, I believe Christina is saying they can't just give it to the United Way and let them sub-distribute it. Is that my correct understanding?
I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure, guys, how to do that.
So what you're saying?
But if the Salvation Army had and found a need, they could send them to United Way.
Yeah.
Well, but the United Way sends them to the Salvation Army.
But it would be the other way around, Ron.
For this money, it would be the other way around.
Well, I don't know that the United Way has that capability to decide who gets money. They don't have social workers there to decide who gets money.
What if they went out to all of the nonprofits that they support? And I've served, they've got a whole bunch of them they already work with. If we were to let them, they already know the people that need it, is what I'm thinking. They've already got the connections and
there are not too many connections that deal directly with what we're talking about. The only one in Bristol is the Salvation Army and Faith in Action for those on Virginia's side who need help with utilities bills. The Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services holds the money for the electrical assistance in Bristol, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole procedure set up for how that money gets distributed. It's been in effect for years. There's no system for water or gas bills. So all that'll be new setup. And again, we got to go ask the United Way what they can do and how they suggest we implement this.
So do we have a motion then that we can research this further before we make a decision? Okay, I don't guess we even need a motion. I just need like a nod from you guys that I can research this further and bring it to you in our next meeting.
Please do that. That would be
or sooner if you have more information sooner, so that we can really make a decision at the next meeting.
I would love to do that too.
And just tell them we want them to be the point person to maybe 3 or 4 other groups, including the Salvation Army, including BTES, including maybe the city of Bristol and the gas company.
And Faith, Faith in Action, if there are people on the Tennessee side who need help with a utility bill, would be another one to reach out to. And if we can use it for food, the food pantry might be one to reach out to.
My guess is, Christina, United Way is going to jump on it because they're going to see the funds would be available.
They have already told me that they would be interested in a partnership.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Bristol, Virginia, and Ellen Tolton, and I've talked about this and what to do. You know, what would we feel would best benefit Bristol people, and the utilities, and I'm sure food, and I know housing, Ron, but I can't help that right now.
Understand.
There'll probably be more money coming down the pike.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
If it ever gets appropriated.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this, Chairwoman. Let's I will do some research. I will talk to United Way specifically, and I will lay out a plan of action, and I'll either send it to you guys sooner, or I'll have Lisa Kofer present it in the next board meeting too, or our next committee meeting.
Maybe.
Perfect.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for your input and your good ideas. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Christina, if we could move on to some new business.
Yes. So the only thing new business is I do not have for you the caper. As you recall, last month I said, hey, in our next meeting, we're going to have a public hearing, right? And we're going to have 2 public hearings, actually. Obviously, I don't even have a draft report for you to review because we're going to have to amend the amendment. And I can't close this out until that gets uploaded into our HUD system. So I just wanted to give you that update. I will try to have something for you in the next couple of months, but it will also depend on what action we take with this new round 3 funding.
Okay.
How long that's going to be.
Makes sense.
Thank you for the update.
Sorry.
No, well, we got more money. That's good.
Hey, one more question. This is round 3, and we know what we distributed for round 2. How much was in round 1?
We didn't receive an allocation in round 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Round 1 was 130. Okay.
115,966.
Gotcha.
Round numbers.
Yeah.
But you know, anyways, all those, and just to give you that quick update on that round 1, all those contracts have gone out. They have all been signed. They're executed. We're actually even reimbursing people already with invoices for their expenditures. So we're moving on that. The money that was allocated to the Discover Bristol, the Chamber of Commerce, our letter was submitted a long time ago, and we have not heard back anything from HUD. You know, Bristol, Virginia received a letter stating that they would not allow that as a eligible activity, but Bristol, Tennessee, has not received a letter in the mail as of yet.
That was for the Chamber of Commerce?
For that Discover Bristol, I think there was a little over $3,000 that we earmarked for them.
Right.
But that's the only thing that hasn't already been, hasn't gone through and completed. We're working on.
Yeah, we kind of guessed that this might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Other matters?
staff reports. My report sent out to you guys, the September report on CDBG and home. I don't know if you have any questions with that. I will tell you that our substantial rehab project on 300 Summerwood Drive is going. Moving on, this is probably week 2 of work on the property. I'm also working with 2-3 emergency projects that that have kind of come up. And of course, we have several people who are not eligible for our program, who have called for assistance, who have gotten help in the past. So if you receive help from our program in the past, ours is like one and done. So you're not eligible for assistance anymore. I'm sorry, but it's what the policies say.
Did you get all the sidewalk money sent before the deadline?
The sidewalk money is still going.
Oh, it
We're
is?
still using that.
Okay, you figured out a way to get that taken care of. Okay.
That's in our action plan for this year, and it's still going to be going. Tim Beavers is on here. I don't know if he wants to speak about it, but I think there's still like $90,000 that is being spent. So slowly but surely, Ron.
You've done a lot on Virginia Avenue. It's looking good.
Oh, man, yeah.
Avenue is great.
Okay. Any questions on the staff report for September? Okay, then I'm going to give you guys, Chairwoman, if it's okay, a quick Bristol Day Center update.
Yes.
I'm going to throw this over to you, Ron, in a minute, because Ron's been doing a lot of the legwork on the facility. But the action committee has met multiple times this month. They've narrowed it down to 3 or 4 different locations, looked at pros and cons, and one of the locations is on the Tennessee side, and Ron's been doing some work, some research on this potential location. I don't really want to disclose yet where it is, Ron. I mean, if you're okay with that, until we really figure out how to move forward. It's up to you and your committee.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of the board of Family Promise has to meet and decide what they want to do.
Correct.
One of the options involves a new facility. Someone has offered to donate a lot, but it would require a new facility. The question is whether they can raise the money to construct a new facility. It's going to be a lot of money. And we have the search committee hadn't found a suitable location on the Tennessee side that's suitable to Family Promise because of the various economic issues and so forth. So, it's still being thought about, worked on, but it's not moving as fast as they had hoped to have it operational by January 1st.
When you said lot, when you said somebody's donated a lot, I think that's property, not money. Ron, is that, yeah. So
Property,
okay.
yes, property.
Okay.
Is there any timeline on when they're supposed to meet to discuss those locations?
They meet, girl, we meet all the time. They've met.
The board meeting is on tomorrow on the 14th.
So anyways, there is still a lot happening. I know that the homeless problem downtown is getting worse, and I wish I could tell you that it was going to get better, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. I see it actually getting probably worse before it gets better. The day center, I really do believe in the cause of the day center. I think it would be, it's very important to give people a place to take a shower, to do their laundry, to get their mail, to charge their phones, to,
use the internet.
Yeah, simple things like that. And honestly, the whole reason that the day center committee was started was to have people out of our library full time, because the library has kind of turned into that makeshift day center. So we'll just have to see where it goes. Ron, I do want to thank you for your work, because you've worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
And then I'll let Marjorie go to the next one.
The Bristol housing update.
Steve, are you asleep?
Yes. No, I'm not.
Hi,
Asleep. I'm
Steve.
here.
Oh, there he is. Hey.
Steve.
I lost my connection there for a second. I want to comment on two of the things we've been talking about. I think last month we had 46 people not pay their rent out of 354 households. And I think only 6 of those, I got to tread lightly here. We've been having people take advantage of this moratorium, both when HUD came down with it and then when the CDC picked up on it. We had people who have never been late on their rent ever, whose income was not affected by COVID at all in any way, shape, or form. They got the same amount of money, and all of a sudden they didn't pay their rent. And I think that's a real shame because, yes, I don't know if they went out and bought a car or bought a TV or whatever, but when the government said you didn't have to pay your rent, people took advantage of it. And that's a shame. The other thing, when that moratorium ends, we're going to work with everyone. We'll set up repayment agreements. We're not going to start evictions because we know our folks cannot pay back immediately, especially if they've gone several months now. And I do think we've got several that have gone probably 6 months and not paid their rent. So now, not all. I mean, I've got the capability and the finances to be able to do that. Private landlords that are, especially smaller ones, you know, they may not have, they may not be able to do that, and yeah, it may result in evictions. And because these landlords, a lot of them that, you know, have their properties financed, they've had to make their payments to the bank or whatever, and you know, they didn't. The owners didn't get a moratorium on what they had to pay. So that's just something to keep in mind. And unfortunately, like everything, people took advantage of this and will continue to take advantage of it.
Question, Steve, the ones that are not paying, are they filling out the government paperwork?
That was, see, HUD didn't require that.
Right, right.
CDC is requiring that part of it.
Right.
And I think we've had one person do it thus far.
Gotcha.
And like I said, it's some forms that have to be filled out and signed, and we're encouraging folks to do that, but it's actually not required at this point. I mean, we can't do anything about it with our folks if they don't fill it out.
Right.
So there are 2 movements going on, and I think they're based out of California, but the ACLU and the National Low Income Housing Coalition are both pushing hard for, at least with housing authorities, to waive the rents that are going to be back owed, because it's going to put such a burden on those folks that didn't pay their rent. Now, whether or not that'll happen, I don't know. And I doubt that'll trickle over to private landlords, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're told by HUD to just waive both late fees and rents. Now, that's just a gut feeling I have. But the whole thing is a bad situation.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be fair to the ones that did pay, Steve.
No, it would not be. And like I said, Vernon, you know, the people not paying rent has almost doubled, and almost all of them were people that, you know, that did not work. They received their normal check, whether it be Social Security or disability, and their income didn't change 1 penny. But for whatever reason, they chose not to pay their rent.
I know, and the part that gets me, I'm not going to say no names, but you see the smirks on their face like I can do this. And that upsets me, because if I'm going to live, I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to eat, I got to pay.
Right. But not everybody sees it like you.
And
That's
Vernon,
really...
you're a good guy, and you have to live with your decisions. So
yeah.
I got a conscience, so I could sleep.
Good for you.
That's really all I've got, Christina.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Are there any other announcements or any other matters that we need to discuss today? Okay, well, I'm gonna, did somebody say something? Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for being here today. It takes all of us with all of our different ideas and different viewpoints to come up with a plan to take care of our community. I really, really appreciate everyone's input. And our next meeting is scheduled for November the 10th, and we look forward to hearing more about what we may be able to do, what our options are for this new CV Round 3 funding. And with that, I guess we are adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.